Hey, this is Dan with Guardian Mold Prevent, and I wanted to take a look at another home with you where we have performed mold remediation. We're looking at a basement that was affected with some water. They had some drain tile that was leading to a sump pump, and that sump pump actually failed, and so the water was backing up into the basement, and it was over an extended period of time. And as you can see, quite a bit of mold has developed on the drywall, the trim, and most assuredly the insulation behind the walls. Now, it appears that most of this basement, there was carpeting down. I think there are some tiled areas, but in any case, the first thing that the owners did was to go ahead and pull that carpeting out, which when the water event or a water intrusion is occurring, it's a very smart thing to do, to jump on top of that. But nonetheless, over time, because the water wasn't taken out right away and the drywall stayed wet for quite some time, mold eventually started to develop. And this is actually another area of the house upstairs where they've had some leaking coming in through a window. And you can see that the drywall below the window where that leaking was taking place also was affected with mold growth. So in any case, they called us in to try to remediate this mold problem, get this living space back to an acceptable level in the air quality and whatnot. Now, when we come into a mold problem, we try to classify the materials into three separate categories. First, there's porous materials, so you've got drywall, trim, and insulation. And then semi-porous, which is your wood framing members, and non-porous, which is concrete walls and foundation floors. Now, once we've been able to classify the materials involved in the project, we then set up a protocol or a scope of work. Normally, we would set up containment in the work areas to keep the air from exchanging with the rest of the living space or to contain the spores. And then we set up negative air pressure with an air scrubber, which is a machine that will help us to contain the spores and remove them from the air. And then what we do is we physically remove and discard all of the porous materials. So your drywall, trim, insulation, all the porous items get actually physically removed, bagged, and discarded. And then once we've exposed your semi-porous and your non-porous materials, we treat those with a biocide, and then we put a mold-resistant coating on. Now, as you look around this basement post-remediation, you'll see that all of the drywall, trim, insulation, paneling, anything that was porous throughout this basement has been physically removed. We bag those items, we tie those bags up, we carry them out of the house, and we dispose of them in the proper manner. Once we've gotten down to the semi-porous materials, like we discussed earlier, we then scrub the framing down, we scrub down the foundation walls, we scrub down the foundation floor, the tile floors. Everything gets cleaned and sanitized with the biocide, and then once we've put the biocide on, we then treat everything with a white acrylic-based mold-resistant coating. It's a coating that prevents mold growth on the applied coating surface. And then while we're working, we make sure we run those air machines that we discussed earlier, the air scrubbers or the negative air machines. We run those during the entire project, and then we also run those for a couple of days afterwards. We'll take a peek here at one of those machines. As you can see, it's an upright machine here. It's got a 12-inch HEPA filter inside of it. It's got a pleated filter, a carbon filter, which helps alleviate the odor, and then a blue pre-filter. This tool right here will help set apart a mold remediation contractor from Joe Handyman, who promises you that he can take care of your mold.